So I do want to talk, as I mentioned a moment ago, about cars because many people do have a special connection to their vehicle. Many people, can honestly say that their first love was a car. May seem weird to you and I, possibly, or maybe it seems completely normal. Maybe you are living with someone who's a complete petrol head and wants to kiss their car goodnight, as Shania Twain sang about when I played that song about 45 minutes ago. And it seems there is some truth in that because they've done a survey just out that a fifth of people are so fond of their car they give it a pet name. Loads of people do this. So that I've never given a name to my vehicle yet, but 1 in 10 of us believe that we've been in love with our vehicles. Men are more likely to say that they love their first car and it was their true love, potentially. I mean, that's a bit insulting to the next person you're going to have a romantic relationship with, isn't it? But a quarter of under 35s say they've had a longer relationship with their car than their partner. I'm not saying a word. I'm going to get Rory Reid involved in this, a former Top Gear presenter and motoring expert who joins me now. Rory, have you ever kissed your car goodnight? Be honest.
I can honestly say that's never been something that's even crossed my mind. I've come close. I'll do things like I'll walk away from the car, leave it in the driveway, walk indoors, and then look out through the window and go, yeah, she's a beauty. But kissing it goodnight, I mean, that's a bridge too far for me. But I do understand why people do it. People love their cars.
What do you think it is about a vehicle that it needs to make it so special that you'd go indoors having driven it all day, potentially sat in traffic jams, and then still look lovingly out of the window at it and go, no, oh, there you are.
I think for me, they're objects of art. Even if it's not the most desirable car in the world, there's always these redeeming elements that you can find. And usually they're designed in such a way to kind of stir the soul, especially sports cars in particular. They've got these, kind of wide haunches at the rear, these sleek lines, and almost like human-like faces in a way that we can kind of see ourselves in our cars sometimes. But
I do know what you
if
mean. I do know. I'm actually surprised by how much I'm agreeing with you with some of it.
yeah, exactly. So we see a reflection of the ideal partner that we'd like to be with sometimes in these cars. Plus, cars also will never let you down. They'll never cheat on you. When's the last time you ever saw a car run away with your best mate? It's just not going to happen, is it? So that reliability and that stability that you get from your car, that trust factor, is something that I think is something that's going to make people, fall in love even more with their vehicles, as odd as it might seem to some people.
Have you ever given a car a name?
I draw the line at that personally. I just wouldn't. I don't see the point in naming your car because it's not a person. It's for me, it's an object. It's a bit like I can appreciate a painting, but I wouldn't necessarily give the painting a name. Because it's just not it's an inanimate object. I'll name a pet, I'll name a cat, I'll name a dog, but for me, a car is not quite the same thing. But I do know loads of people that do name their cars. I find it strange, but I understand why they do it because it is another member of the family. It's potentially something they might consider themselves in a relationship with, but I just don't do it. What about you?
No, I'm not a car namer, I must admit, although I was attached to my first car, and I remember going out and buying, it was a little mini Metro, and I bought a travel rug that was exactly the same shade of orangey red, and it had to be, you couldn't actually use it as a travel rug, it had to be draped in a certain way over the back seat, so it looked all stylish, and you could see it through the back window and go, yeah, that's my car and my travel rug, but I've grown through that now. That was when I was very young, and I first passed my test. But I'm just wondering, talking this way about cars, and it was a cool car, like you said.
Can I just
What?
say, actually, snap, I used to have the same red mini Metro back in the
Did
day as well.
you?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that, Rory. We're bonding over our mini Metros. We had cool cars, didn't we? That best
I,
car I ever had, to be fair, until
I
someone
wouldn't
ran
go
into the
that
back
far.
of it. But, well, no, as I say, when someone smashed into it, I was like, I don't love you anymore. Now, I fell out of love quite quickly with the Metro at that point. Not that it was the car's fault in any way. But have you heard of partners getting jealous? Because the way we're talking about our vehicles, obviously, if I had another half who got more excited about his car than me, I might take that personally.
Yeah, do you know what? It's not something that I've encountered, but I can definitely understand why that might happen, especially if you've got someone who's really into their car and tinkering with it and modifying it. A lot of people do develop this relationship with their cars where they not only do they end up buying it and drive it and use it in the normal way, but they'll sit around with it and polish it and upgrade little bits of it. And that can take away the time that they spend with their significant others. And I definitely can see a world in which your other half might say, maybe this person loves their car more than they love me. There's also this kind of phenomenon where we mentioned it earlier, where you're looking out the kitchen window, or as you walk away from your car, you look over your shoulder and glance back at it lovingly. How many people do that with their partner as you're maybe dropping your other half away off at a train station or bus stop or something? How many of us look over our shoulder at our partners and go, what a beauty. I think more people do that with a car than a person. So I can definitely see a world in which jealousy arises.
I can see a world where jealousy arises from what you're talking about. I hope there are people shouting at the radio going, I always do that when I drop my partner off at the station. Of course, I give a loving look. I'm single at the moment, so I can't say I do exactly that. But I'd like to think I'd have a relationship good enough that I've missed my partner more than my car. I hope. I really do hope.
I don't know.
If you say the Mini Metro wasn't the best vehicle for you, and we both know that was our first car, which is brilliant, what is the car that has pulled your heartstrings the most that you've gone on to drive, Rory?
Oh, that's a very good question. So to clarify, a Ford Fiesta was my first car, but I did have
Oh,
I
okay.
had dozens of cars. The Metro was one of them. A brief
Oh,
fling in my history of car relationships.
a fling with the
But
Metro. I love it.
yeah, but the car that I think I've lusted after the most and finally got to drive was pretty much any Lamborghini
Oh,
you can think of. I've always been a Lamborghini fan, so the opportunities I've had to actually drive a Lamborghini, that really sets the pulse racing, because you wonder whether or not that it's going to live up to expectations. It's a bit like perhaps fancying a celebrity, or just a normal person from a distance, and then one day they go, "Oh, do you want to go for a drink?" And you think, "Oh my God, it's finally happening!" And you have this doubt in your mind about whether it's going to be, as good as you thought it always would be. In my case, the Lambos are brilliant, even better than I thought they would be. But I can
really? Really?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, you have. I mentioned earlier, they're objects of art. You can put them on a wall; they look beautiful, but they're also art in person. They're almost these kind of sculpted, beautiful, yeah, pieces of art that you can lust after in person. But then it goes a step further when you press the start button and the engines fire up and it sends the vibrations through the car, and you got the hairs on your skin standing on edge, and then you move, and that the speed at which they move at and the responsiveness, it's just something else. You really find yourself falling deeper in love with the car than you might expect the more you experience it.
I'm feeling I need to tell you to get a room with you and your Lamborghini. You're describing it with
Yeah.
such passion there,
So-
and I love listening to
Sorry.
it. It's brilliant. No, it's nothing to apologise for. You're amongst friends. It's okay
Just
here on BBC Radio
just
Kent. Don't worry.
just had a hot flush. Just had a hot flush.
It's brilliant talking to you about this, Rory, and I hope everyone will join in this conversation. If you feel the same way about your car as Rory has just described that Lamborghini, and it gives you a hot flush to think about it, 0800 756 1111, or maybe not quite that passionate, but you have given your cars names. What names have they had? Why did you choose that for them? 81333 is what you can text me on, starting your message with the word Kent. Rory, it's been absolutely brilliant, and I hope one day the keys to that Lamborghini are yours forever. It becomes your take-home car, and you can go off into the sunset in happiness together.
Yeah, we'll live happily ever after. Thank you so much. Nice talking to you.
It could happen, you never know. It's been great to chat to you today on BBC Radio Kent. Do you feel the same way as Rory? Are you that passionate about your vehicle?